Student athletes may suffer a specific type of life stress. Now, this is not to say that student athletes have more stress than non-student athletes, but what this might say is that student athletes have that same level of stress with the added pressure of competing in their sport, with training, maintaining physical shape. The reason that this issue is significant isn't because we want to simply look at college students staying in college, but also because sports may be causing some students to not get a degree, which is the primary purpose that I'm looking at this research. Now, with my experience as a football coach and my experience as a player, I know for certain players that I've played with or players that I've coached that have dropped out of school and not gotten their degrees, specifically because they were tired of sports or they could not handle the workload. Now, who's to say which one of those student athletes would have gotten their degree if they weren't playing in their respective sport? Previous research done has looked at stress levels in student athletes, and previous research has also looked at dropout rates in freshman college students and non-freshman college students. But a large-scale longitudinal study has never looked at stress levels and how it relates to student-athlete dropout rates. The primary question I would like to address, and the purpose of this study, is to find out what factors may actually lead to student-athlete dropout rates. The design of my study was basically emailing out a 16-item Likert survey to the entire student-athlete body at the University of Central Oklahoma. Now, these questions are worded in ways that would say something may bother you or annoy you, but what they're truly looking at are specific things that could happen in school or that could happen in athletics that could create a high stress level or a low stress level, depending on the student athlete answering the questions. Now, when analyzing this data, what I'll look for is trends in questions that may show higher stress levels or lower stress levels, and then I can also look at this data as in comparison with freshman student athletes and non-freshman student athletes to see which stresses may be felt more heavily by incoming freshmen and which stresses have maybe been adapted to by non-incoming freshmen. Future considerations. This research would be best served over a long period of time, looking at freshman student athletes' stress levels now and then looking later years to see if those student athletes dropped out of college, if they stayed in college, and if they did drop out, what stresses did they show was the highest. And possibly we could use that data to look at as football coaches or teachers and say, what are we doing to possibly force these student athletes out of college or to put them in a situation where they can't handle the workload or the burden.